Are we ready to do this?
Yeah. I think so.
All right, let me crack up this thing and. All right.
Oh, you're just opening it. I've been drinking since Sunday. Well, really Saturday.
Well, yeah. Can't say I haven't. Hey man,
It's been
some of the stuff I've had to clean up it's not been fun. Let's say that.
I can imagine.
Right.
I can imagine.
All right, so we are the CLG Faithful Podcast, and this is episode 54. This week, our turn.
55.
55. Huh. I don't know.
Yeah.
They all slur together right now. There's nothing distinctive about it other than we suck. So,
right?
So we're going to do something a little different this week where we're not actually going to go over any of the games. What we're going to do is we're going to sit down and we're just going to have a discussion about our roster, about our drafts, about our problems, playoff dreams, or the lack thereof. All those various things. And we're just going to discuss it. And, you know what? People will have different opinions than us. And that's absolutely fine. We're hoping that we can just have a little bit of rational discussion about it.
Yeah, like hopefully no one should take our opinion as
gospel,
like fact or gospel. This is literally just our opinion. After the few weeks that we've been having as an org, which is I think the worst really in the organization's history. I don't think it's ever been 3-0-2 weeks in a row.
Well, it's not our darkest hour. We're not 0-2 in relegations up against Curse Academy.
No.
But this is probably one of the worst we've had in recent memory. And this
especially with the team that we have.
This is a very close second as far as I can tell. At least a lot of the other times we made playoffs. So
exactly.
Yeah, let's just get right into it. Once again, this is going to be our opinions. People will have different thoughts. And as for this topic list, we just made it about 20 minutes ago, so neither one of us have had time to go out and come up with complete thoughts or arguments. It's just going to be a lot of spur on the moment and discussion.
Yes, so there's going to be like raw thoughts coming out. We haven't scripted this ahead of time or anything like that, aside from talking points.
Right. So let's just go first things first. Nick Allen's going to do an AMA.
Sometime this week. No specific date or time, but, sometime this week.
Yeah, so we're hoping, for this is a multi-mod of RCLG, and we're hoping to at least get in contact with them. Then we'll know whether it's going to be on RCLG or on the League of Legends subreddit. We're hoping that it'll at least be on the CLG sub. That way, it's more CLG focused, and hopefully it's not just a bunch of people coming in and asking stupid questions. But,
yeah, I like it.
But
they would be smart to do it on.
I have no idea anything about it yet. Is what I'm saying.
No one on our League of Legends is really going to have. I mean, they'll have obviously they'll have questions, but I think our CLG is where they should be giving answers.
Well, we're the most invested, right?
Yeah, like our CLG is one of the biggest, is probably the biggest fan base for CLG. And
I think
obviously the most
biggest
vocal.
Source of salt of all the subreddits, but
it is probably the second largest source of salt. Discord is probably the first source of salt.
You can't even have a proper discussion on Discord. It's too many people.
No, I have muted and left. I think I'm still in the server, but I have muted that server because it is awful. It is absolutely awful.
It's hard to have actual discussion. There's too many people typing at once.
Too many. Yeah.
That's the problem with any big Discord channel, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's give an overview of what's going on. When you look at CLG play, what do you think is wrong?
Truthfully, I think they need to be fighting as a group more coherently. So it seems as though they're taking fights at improper times where they're not really in position for the fight, or they're just overthinking the fight and getting crushed because of that.
So interesting. So I think that we're getting some picks every now and then, but the problem is we get the pick and then we try to go for more kills. And instead of going for more kills, there's oftentimes a lot of objectives up on the map. So whether we go and steal a blue buff, or we take a dragon, or we, God forbid, we actually go for actual objectives, right? Because I think that's what I was thinking about there when I was saying that. Was it's more that they just want to get kills, but they're not set up properly to do that. Right.
Yeah, okay, great.
You time the kill,
can take a kill.
You time the kill right before something spawns, or when you have a big wave crashing or something like that. That's what you're saying.
They'll get a pick, and then they'll get a pick, or maybe they'll get like a four, like they'll get 4 kills, and there'll be like 3 of them left up, but they have to go defend all 3 lanes because all 3 of our lanes are being pushed super hard. So because they haven't set up for the team fight.
I saw a tweet that summarized it was Huhi's girlfriend, right? She tweeted and it summarized how I felt. You're not surprised when we lose a Baron, you're surprised when we get a Drake.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's been the story of our season, right? We've had abysmal objective control. I think everyone is legitimately surprised when we get a dragon.
Mm-hmm.
I
am.
Our drafts, some of them have been fine. I guess that depends on what your thoughts are on the draft, and we'll go more into that later. But a lot of people have pointed to drafts as a source of criticism. A lot of people have also pointed to the way in which we play around the map. ReignOver has at times just been randomly caught out and died. Stixxay has received a lot of criticism, at least early on in the split. I think some of that's died down now, but we've seen some of that as well, and we'll get to that again. The shot calling aspect is there. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the player witch hunts returning. I was never a fan of those in the first place.
No, but the player witch hunts are awful, and they should just like be purged as soon as it starts up, because it's probably just going to be one gigantic fiesta that we don't need.
I don't think there's any good of it that can come. That's my thought.
No.
I understand
Absolutely
there's a lot of people who may not like a particular player or the results in which they have put up, and that is fair. But I don't know. I also understand people would discuss saying we need new players or whatever, but we'll get to that in a second too, I guess, right? I guess the overall question let me ask is our roster bad? Because on paper, we have a good roster. I don't think any analyst predicted us below 4th. Some, like Jat, predicted us 1st. A lot of people predicted us somewhere between 2nd and 4th. 2nd, 3rd,
yeah,
and 4th.
We were definitely like a top 4 team on paper going into this. And that was... I think that's the biggest stem of this problem that we're facing right now in terms of like what people on the forums and Reddit believe. Because on paper,
but is it unfair?
We should be.
Is it unfair for us to have high expectations when you look at the names on this roster?
It's not at all.
Every single person has won LCS at some point in their career. Some people have won it multiple times.
Yep. And it's one of those things where, you know, if you look at it, 3 of the 5 players were at MSI.
Right.
Like, and crushed it. It's I don't know. It's weird, man. It's weird.
So this is an example of a roster that is clearly not working well together right now. Though interestingly
something
enough,
is wrong there.
You've heard the phrase thrown out that CLG right now are the scrim gods or whatever. Now, scrim god status doesn't really mean anything. If anything,
No,
I look at that as speculation, because unless you're screaming best of 3s or best of 5s right before something, and even then, it's just, you're looking to get better at particular things.
Yeah, it's like in scrims, there's nothing to compete for, and teams are trying new things. They're trying to learn a little bit more about the other teams.
They're also far more aggressive.
So, yeah. So you can really kind of get an ahead, I guess you could say, on a team if you are, instead of playing it like a learning a thing to learn from, if you're playing as if it was, like an actual game.
So I don't know. Maybe in scrims we're getting even bigger goal leads than we currently do right now, because the way the games go in general, and they actually discussed this during the not Golden Guardians game, the one we just played, Clutch Gaming, the second round.
Yeah.
The analysts were discussing this, and it's the same thing that a lot of people on the subreddit are also noticing right up that week previous and coming up to the game, that our early games are genuinely decent. They're not perfect, they're not free faults or whatever, but they're generally pretty good, and we're getting gold leads. And as we've seen in the game, compared to last year, we actually get bigger gold leads than we did last year in the early game. The problem comes in mid-game, where things fall apart, because CLG has always been known for our early games. You go back all the way back to the days of Monte Cristo, right? We were known as the macro team, lots of rotations, extremely clever early level ones, things like that. But right now, you hit 15-minute marks, and all of a sudden, we don't know what to do come mid-game. We fumble our gold leads. The opposing teams, we make one mistake, they get the tempo advantage, they pick up any outer turrets. Somewhere between 20 and 35 minutes, Baron spawns, and what I've noticed, it's usually been Stixxay or ReignOver who gets caught out. That turns into a Baron. From Baron, they'll siege usually bot lane, or they'll get the bot lane outer turret. They'll take the inhibitor turret from there. They'll rotate top, start pushing at that. And it just ends up being a formality to close out the game, because we've generally had fairly low wave clear comps.
Yeah.
Like Ezreal is not going to out wave clear, say, I don't know, Jinx, or I guess if you want to go a little bit more meta, a Xayah. Something like that. Just comparatively, it's not going to be as good.
No, not at all. It seems as though...
And Gnar is not amazing at wave clear either.
Oh god, no. Like, late game, he can clear a wave by himself, but especially early game, Gnar is...
But Baron buff minions are going to take a while to clear out too.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's not going to be able to do that at all. It's bad.
So
I
guess that's a little bit of an extension of what's going on, right?
Yeah.
That is the general trend I have noticed. Our comps are a little bit more, I'd say they're more difficult to execute, whether you call them high execution or just harder to execute than the others. That goes into part of the problem, I guess. I guess, do you just want to transition to talking about drafting and coaching right now, or do you want to leave that till after the players?
Why don't we talk about the players, and then we can kind of get into the drafting and coaching, because I have a feeling that we'll be able to kind of talk a little bit about points that we can then bring together after that.
Okay, so let's run through the roster, because one of the common things that we're seeing right now is people are asking for roster swaps, and let's go through and see, is that warranted? I'm gonna take a guess that your thoughts are probably similar to mine, and that neither one of us think that we really need roster swaps. What we need is different things, such as perhaps more infrastructure support, or someone to teach someone how to shot call, which is easier said than done. But
Yeah.
That's
I think
yeah. Go ahead.
it seems so. We'll just start straight up with Darshan. Like, I don't think anyone, even with how the team is kind of going right now, I don't think anyone can really say that Darshan is an issue.
So
like
Darshan right now does
yeah.
play up a little bit. He's been getting either soloed out or just ganked. Mostly just ganked. He plays very aggressive, a little bit without vision, or sacrificing some CS. I guess the general criticism is that our laners have not been good.
Yeah. So overall, it seems as though that they just haven't been performing to the levels that they should be, because they're not playing as a cohesive group. So it seems like when they're in the laning phase, there really is no major, roaming to help out mid lane or mid roaming up to help top. It really only goes like if it's an absolute necessity. Like, okay, I'm getting pushed in, we're going to lose this tower unless Huhi and ReignOver come top with me.
So, one thing we've seen Darshan on a lot this split, Gnar. That's what immediately comes to mind.
Yeah,
I'm actually trying to think of other champions he's played. Has he played Gangplank this split?
He has. He actually, I think that was during one of our wins. He actually crushed it as Gangplank.
Alright, so he's played at least one Gangplank. I know he's played a couple Camille and a lot of Gnar.
Yeah, a lot of Gnar. I mean, Gnar is one of his signature champions.
Sure, that's fair. I'm not criticizing him playing Gnar, right? I'm just thinking, and this is reaching, I guess, back to drafts a little bit. Maybe right now Sion is very strong. And you look at what some of the other teams have been playing. They're playing these comps where you go and you pick this meat shield in the jungle, something like Skarner, Sejuani, or Zac. Which, to our credit, we've been playing Sejuani and Zac.
A lot. Sometimes
you see Galio mids and Camille tops or whatever. You pick comps that are fairly easy to execute. Camille goes in, Galio ults, boom. Very easy to do.
Yeah.
Sion runs in, Galio ults, or Skarner runs in with them, and they bring someone back, and Sion just acts as a meat shield, and then regens it all up. Something like that, where it's relatively easy to execute versus a Gnar, which you have to play around the Gnar bar. And then you usually want Gnar to split push and apply that pressure, right?
Yeah, and I feel as though teams have been smart when we're playing so much Gnar to play around that Gnar bar quite well. Like, we seem to be getting crushed when Darshan is on Gnar because he never seems to have it up when the enemy team initiates. Or so they're carefully waiting for that Gnar to pop and aggressively poking him to make it pop.
Right, and that's a little bit easier when you're the team that's ahead and you can force the engages versus the other that has to force an engage, which may not always be the opportune moment. So I guess that's one issue. I know Darshan can play whatever. We know he can split push. I'm sure he would love to play Jax again and just AFK farm and push, but
I think at this point though, Jax has been relegated to the jungle.
Oh yeah,
that's where he's been. Like, that's where he's excelling at right now.
Circle that. We'll come back to that in a second, actually.
Yeah.
I guess Darshan's been fine. We know he's been able to pull it together when we've needed him to in the past. He was criticized for being very poor at laning, and he put it together and he became very good at tanks throughout that split. Right? So, I think we're good with Darshan.
Yeah, I think so.
Do we know, is he officially the captain of the team?
I don't know. I haven't really seen that at all.
So,
like, I haven't really seen an announcement of that at all.
Generally, captains tend to be your most tenured members, the ones who are the biggest voices on the team.
Yeah.
And I would imagine...
And he is definitely that member.
I would imagine it's Darshan. He has the right to it. Just, again, being that most tenured member... He's been on CLG the longest out of anyone else. I imagine he's the captain. So
I imagine so. He's also probably the most vocal in terms of.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the other
talking.
personalities on the team. None of them are really the vocal one types. So
no, exactly.
All right, let's talk ReignOver.
Yeah, let's talk about ReignOver.
So go ahead.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, as someone who really loves jungling, ReignOver has the skills.
He's not playing Rammus.
That are
he's not playing Rammus.
Required.
I'm telling you
he's
that
not,
now.
I know. He's not playing. I know. I love my Rammus. But it just seems that maybe something's not clicking with the rest of the team with ReignOver. Like, you know, with Smithy, you know, everyone jokes about, you know, the CLG fam and best friends forever or whatever. But Smithy just seemed to connect with the rest of CLG and kind of knew where he needed to be. And even in games where they lost, like, badly, he was playing it smart. With ReignOver, it always seems that he gets that really early advantage, but there's no option later on, and this may be because of the laners or whatnot, to really press that advantage.
So we don't turn that advantage into anything tangible.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. So, like, ReignOver will invade early if he's on an aggressive jungler, or he will, you know, just be ahead because he's done like red, then blue, and then ganked. And, you know, they'll get the kill and there'll be an advantage, but then there's no push for that. There's no push to abuse that advantage. So, and I think that's...
So do you think that ReignOver has been somewhat found out as of the past few games? If you looked at our game versus Team Liquid, I don't think it's so much that he's been found out. They played extremely well around Vision to keep ReignOver from doing anything.
Yeah. I don't think it's so much that ReignOver has been found out. I think it's CLG has been found out.
Okay, that's fair.
That's something we can talk about a little bit later on, though.
Okay.
I think so.
The reason I was going for this, if you looked at the Clutch Gaming game as well, it was a little bit more difficult for ReignOver to do as much early game.
No, absolutely.
Lyra played the early game very well. And Lyra is usually the person you know to be on these super aggressive, in-your-face champions. And he's playing Skarner. Which, I'm surprised we haven't played Skarner. You know, we've been playing a lot of Zac. We played a ton of Sejuani. We've not seen any Jax play.
Not at all, which is kind of weird.
And... maybe it's not a ReignOver as champion, but I mean, Smithy, going back to that game, he ended that game 0-1-0 with 180 vision score or something like that. All he did that game was go around, farm, and take ocean drakes and whatever they had. That was it. Mm-hmm. And then he just split pushed for a while.
That was it.
And you're in a Jax. You're not fighting anyone. And you think, what's going on? But he did it. He did it successfully.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just don't know what's going on there, right? Because you're expecting ReignOver to go provide that early game advantage. Okay, fine. He's got that. How are we transitioning that? We're not getting early drakes.
No.
And
we're
I'd say our pressure bot side has been pretty low.
It has been, definitely. Which I guess we can kind of move into on Stixxay and Biofrost. You want to move down to them?
Yeah, let's go for that. I guess a final note on ReignOver is I don't know what's going on there. ReignOver should be the most Smithy-like person in the league.
Yep.
You think, based on CLG's playstyle and our history, that would work well? Maybe if we had Aphromoo still, then you plug in ReignOver and all of a sudden this team just works because we're missing Aphromoo that much.
It could be. It could just be that ReignOver they're trying to give ReignOver a lot of say in how the game is being played. where with Aphromoo, it was Aphromoo allowing the jungler to have that say, but keeping everyone else on board and together with it. And right now, that could be the issue, is that we don't have the shot calling or the team captain presence like that Aphromoo was with CLG to make sure that everyone is on the same level.
All right, well, let's transition that to Biofrost then.
Yeah, okay.
So
let's do that.
So I think Biofrost has actually been pretty decent.
He has been. He's definitely been
so
a good stat. He's not quite Aphromoo in terms of skill and play yet, but he is getting there, and he hasn't failed miserably.
So,
like he's not playing completely awful. He's not playing at Aphromoo skill levels, but I mean, that's kind of hard to do considering it's like his second season playing League of Legends professionally, and Aphromoo has been playing for 6 years.
Yes. He played on TSM for 3 splits, and then came to.
We've got him for his first, so he's basically played for.
Is it 3 splits or 4? Actually, I can't remember. At any rate,
I'm not 100% sure.
Maybe we can say that Biofrost was slightly overrated being on TSM. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying that maybe he was positioned a little bit higher than he is, and that's because of just being on TSM with your veterans like Doublelift, Bjergsen, Hanser, and Sven.
Yeah, you've got such an amazing team above you.
It helps you look better than you are.
A lot better.
And if you're on a team that wins a lot, you tend to have inflated stats and look better.
Exactly.
I guess a similar comment could be made about ReignOver in that ReignOver was with Huhi, and Huhi is obviously an extremely good top laner. You can argue that he's probably the best player in the league, or at least top 5 in the league. That's fair to say for sure. I'd say definitely right now he's the best top laner in the league for sure.
I would agree with you. Yep.
Dardoch, I think we all know Dardoch. He's working very well with Huhi right now. You just look. Huhi seems to be that top laner that junglers want to play with, and it works out well for them. Maybe,
and I think it's because he's a strategically aggressive top laner. So he's aggressive when he really needs to, like when he needs to be, and he uses that to his strategic advantage. Whereas some other,
and he got better on SKT, significantly better.
Oh yeah. I mean, you go to Korea, you play on SKT, you go to Worlds, you see all the best. I mean, you don't win Worlds, but you freaking make it to the finals, and like it's just insane. So definitely insane.
And it seems like ReignOver and Huhi paired off very well. I guess a similar comment could be made that, and this was actually asked in the analyst desk, is ReignOver, Stixxay, and Biofrost their weaker half of their respective duos?
Yep.
I don't know if you can say it's weaker half so much as, at least for our bot lane, they clearly have not meshed as much together. That will take some time. They don't have nearly as much experience.
Yeah, I mean, this is their first split playing together, but at the same time, you have to think of like Stixxay has only played professionally with Aphromoo, so that's a huge gap to fill.
I mean, same thing with Biofrost.
In a thing. Yeah, he had only played with Doublelift, and I mean, we both know like Stixxay and Doublelift are both. Well, I mean, Doublelift is arguably the best AD carry in North America.
I think he's Stixxay, by far the best.
Yeah, I mean, and then Stixxay is damn good, but he's on his given day.
So Stixxay is very inconsistent. Yeah. We'll get to that in just a second, right?
Yes.
So just going back to Biofrost, I think he's been pretty good, but it's also been somewhat hampered by our bot lane not doing as well. At least early on, and it's improved over time. If at the beginning they were just hemorrhaging left and right, and Now it's stabilized a little bit. We seem to be giving Stixxay, instead of putting him on Ezreal, we're putting him on things like Kalista, where we know he's good at both, but he seems to be, at the moment, a little bit more comfortable with Kalista. At the very least, he did very well this weekend. He was probably our best player, which isn't saying much, but...
Nope.
Stixxay seems to be getting better. Biofrost seems to be working better with him. We know Biofrost can be a fantastic player in terms of engages and whatnot.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think he's a good player. The big thing that we're missing right now is Aphromoo. And Aphromoo was our captain. He was that decisive voice. He was our leader, the one that if times are tough or things are not looking so well, he would be that voice to put it together to keep us going forward.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that could be something we're missing right now.
He was the decisive shot caller. If he says, we're going in now, everyone better be flashing in.
Everyone's going in. Right. And I think that may be even what's happening now, is that you kind of hit the nail on the coffin there, I think, in that there's no voice of the team on the team that is basically
experienced,
like, hey,
doing what he did.
We're down, but you know what? Like, this ain't nothing like being down 0-2 in a relegations against Curse Academy. You know, like, it's like, get in there, let's fight. We can still win this. And maybe that is just a bit of a thing. So it's more of an emotional thing. It reminds
me of that game we played up against Team Liquid, if you remember, the one where we were down a bunch of Drakes and objectives and whatnot, and then this is when Darduck was on Team Liquid, I believe, for the first time.
Yeah.
And the voice comms, you can hear Aphromoo say, all right, this is our fight. This is where we win. They go in, they call out what they need to do, and they win that fight, and they win the game. You remember that? Do you remember that one I'm talking about?
Sorry, which one?
There was a fight we had against Team... there was a game we had against Team Liquid.
Yeah.
Darduck was the jungler at that time on Team Liquid. The first time around.
Yeah.
Do you remember that game I'm talking about? Or that voice comms at the very least?
I don't remember the voice comms, no.
Alright, well, at any rate, that was just my thing on it. He's that presence, and none of the other players seem to have had to take over any of those roles right now, and we're suffering because of that. It reminds me an incredible amount like High when he left Cloud9.
Yeah, exactly. The backbone and the kind of prop up of the team is gone, and everyone just kind of like, well shit, what do I do? Like, I don't know what we do now. And then High comes back, and Cloud9 all of a sudden is the best team in the league.
Well, okay. Hold on now. Do you remember that shit he was doing with Shyvana Jungle, just running around and I was like, what are you doing? And then, like, I don't know, you're not stopping me. I guess
the greatest part was when he came back as the jungler.
I guess I'll pick.
You're like,
I guess
I'll
what? Pick. Was it Blood Razor or Pharaoh Flare or whatever it was? Devour. It was Devour Shyvana. Mm-hmm. I guess I'll go do that and do
something
stupid
like that.
Shit. But
yep. Like, so, why not?
So a lot of people are saying, why didn't we go for Aphromoo? My understanding is that CLG put a pretty sizable offer out for Aphromoo.
Yep.
Aphromoo wanted to test his market value, and it's so understandable in that his market value has probably never been higher than at the beginning of the season, where tons of new teams need rosters, tons of new teams have money, incredible amount of money, and he's a native NA player. If you don't consider him to be the best support in NA, at the very least, top 3, for sure.
Yeah,
again, brings that senior captaincy, that tenured voice, that experience, that knowledge, shot calling, the complete package, all the intangibles that you don't get other than just straight playmaking.
Exactly. You've got all the things that a new team needs to get motivated. So and
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
So
you got all the things that a team needs to be motivated, and so that he comes in and instantaneously your team has been legitimized because you have Afromu.
Right. And so his market value has never been higher. Also keep in mind, this was the fastest off-season in LCS history. It went on for, what, a week? I think 10 days max, something like that. It was incredibly fast. Teams were moving and signing players incredibly quickly. And who are the other major support players you can get? Smoothie's already on Cloud9. TSM seemed to be getting Mithy, which meant Biofrost would have to be free. Hakuho was already signed at that time, I think.
I believe so. There wasn't a whole lot of options out there in terms of support.
Right.
Team Liquid either had all of them or they were already signed to a team.
They have all the options for everyone. Yeah, and Ole was already signed to Team Liquid. Or more accurately, Team Liquid held the contract for him. So in terms of options, my understanding, and I believe this was confirmed by Jacob Wolf, he said on the ESPN podcast, he was saying that when Afromu wanted to test his market value, CLG did not hesitate, and they immediately made a move to go and grab the next best player who they perceived. In this case, it was Biofrost, and they signed with him, rather than waiting for him to go to someone else, in the off chance that Afromu does not sign with CLG.
Yeah, which was a great move. I mean, nothing would be worse than knowing that, Afromu is signing with 100 Thieves and Biofrost just got signed by someone else.
Right, and then let's say we got ReignOver. We'd be scrambling for support who is NA native, and that means you're picking from unknown players.
Yeah.
I mean, do you really want Kiwi Kid? I don't.
No. You're either pulling up from your academy roster, or you are, and then you're having to find someone to fill in the academy roster.
Which you can do that, right? But it's not desirable. So that's a problem there. Don't get me wrong. I have nothing against Biofrost. I just love Afromu as a player. I think we are desperately missing him right now. One interesting thing is that if you wanted to move on from Afromu, I guess that would have been the most opportune time to do it, because every team was rebuilding or changing rosters at that point.
Yeah,
and you're getting two young players who could work well together. I don't know. I think we've hit this point long enough. I guess circling back to Biofrost,
I think so.
Biofrost is fine. He's a young player. He's got several titles to his name. He's good. We'll be fine with him.
Yeah.
It'll take time. The question is,
I think so.
The question is, can we solve the shot calling angle and have someone that puts this team together and we don't look like complete headless chickens?
That would be nice.
And you know what? Maybe that does come at the expense of one of our players. Maybe it is ReignOver or Huhi or Biofrost that gets replaced with another player who can shot call. I don't know.
It's something for the org to look at, and it's definitely something that I would not.
I would not dismiss it immediately as an option.
Yeah, exactly. If they picked up a player as a sub so that they didn't have to have the entirety of the LoL Academy team on as subs,
I get it.
I would not.
Hey,
I would not be like that's dumb. I'd be like, no, that's smart.
I mean, this won't happen, but hell, if we manage to swap Biofrost for Afromu, who knows? But it's not going to happen. And again, I have nothing against Biofrost, so
no.
I guess let's touch on Stixxay quickly.
Sure.
He was pretty bad at the beginning of the split. I think we can all agree on that.
He was. Yeah. He definitely was either super rusty or he just had jitters or something. I don't know.
I think he's picked it up though.
Yep.
He's gotten better as the split's progressing. I don't know. It's hard to say there. Our bot lane wasn't doing so well. but then our bot lane got a little bit better. Our jungle was doing okay, but doesn't always work out. Our top laner does well, and then just randomly dies sometimes to ganks, and then Huhi is not winning lane, but trying to roam, and there's a lot of problems with this team. There's not one individual player, which is why I think if you look at the subreddit right now, some people are mentioning we should go get Forgiven. I guess Forgiven will win you the lane, but I mean
he'll be stable. He'll make it so that you don't need to send anyone bot lane.
Yeah, but he'll complain at you the entire time that it's just a 2v3.
He will. He'll be like, I need a gank bot. I need a gank bot.
That's the thing.
I didn't get a gank bot.
He'll say, no, you come gank my lane. And then you go gank his lane.
Yeah.
And he says, why are you ganking my lane, man? You get nothing better to do? Why don't you call for help?
Right.
No, I can win this by myself.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see the huge upside to getting Forgiven over Stixxay.
I think
maybe Forgiven is more consistent. You can say that. He's pretty consistent at lane.
But I think if you...
He is a very strong player.
Yeah. If you throw another random cog into this team, you're looking at a longer wait time
also
before anything happens.
He's an import slot, so that means you have to replace another player with an NA player.
Yeah. Is Huhi still import?
Yes. I'm trying to think how much longer he's an import. I think another split. Has it been 4 years?
I think it's been 3.
Yeah, so
I think he's got one more year on him before he's a natural.
Well, it's more than that. It's 4 years, and you have to apply for permanent residency.
Yeah.
So that is a big thing.
Might?
He probably will, but I don't know.
I don't see why he wouldn't, but I mean, maybe he just is like, all right, I'm just gonna be here. I don't see why CLG wouldn't be like, yo, apply, and just even if you don't get it, it doesn't hurt to apply for it.
Yeah,
I mean, give us that option as to not have you as a
right and
as an import slot. I mean, it would increase his value as well, his own personal
he's
player
playing NA
value
for most of his career too.
Yeah.
I guess we've transitioned to Huhi at this point.
We've transitioned to Huhi at this point. No, I think Stixxay is fine. I think he just needs to get over his jitters or kind of mesh a little bit better with Biofrost.
I guess if you're gonna make one last point about Stixxay, a common criticism, largely targeted at Stixxay, but also seems to apply to a lot of the team, is how motivated they are, or I often see that in conjunction with how many solo queue games they're playing. That's one of the most common things you often see is look at how many solo queue games other teams are playing. Look at how many games our team members are playing. This is the most simplest way in which we understand is how they practice. At least, if you just want to practice pure raw laning, just go play a bunch of solo queue, or maybe not so much for jungling, but still. Everyone else. Something like that, right? Or you just, I need to go and practice this champion. I'm just going to play it over and over and over again. Solo queue will do that for you.
It will. It will help you learn.
That is a fair criticism, right? If they're only playing very few solo queue games, you can say, look, maybe some people need more practice than others to get very proficient at something. But at the same time, it does help you keep your mechanics up. It does help you just naturally get better at the champions, although I guess you can argue you get diminishing returns at some point.
Yeah. It's hard to say, really.
But without knowing
solo queue, you're only gonna learn so much if you're in solo queue.
Without knowing what they're doing as a team. Maybe they're having extra scrim blocks or something, and that's cutting into solo queue practice. I don't know.
Yeah.
We have no clue what's actually going on inside the team, and that makes it very difficult to say. On paper, you see they have low solo queue games compared to their opponents, or I guess other teams.
Yep.
Maybe that is a motivation factor, and maybe that is something that they need to put in more hours into. I don't know.
It could be.
I also don't like telling people just put in more work or put in more hours into something, because you can't just keep doing something forever and expecting to get it better. Does that make sense? It's the same.
I know. I 100%.
It's the same mantra. Like I'm a software developer by trade, and when I hear project managers tell me, "Well, can you do this any faster?" No. What if I get more people? Well, 9 women can't have 9 babies in 1 month, or 9 women can't have 9 babies in 1 month. It doesn't work that way. You know what I'm saying?
No, you can't.
So I hate just telling people work harder, because that doesn't have any value.
It doesn't. And if they and it'll move into kind of what we talk about in a minute here, I think, but it does feel as though they're just trying the same things over and over again, and it's not working.
That we can get into.
So why don't we talk about that now? Why don't we move into that now?
Let's talk Huhi. We kind of skipped over Huhi.
I guess we kind of did skip over Huhi.
So
people on the subreddit, at least, are wondering, well, what if we get Froggen instead? And my thoughts on that are, Froggen is going to have the most CS in the game, every game, and he's going to have a solid KDA, but he is only going to have that. He is going to go even, or maybe a little bit more, and then
he will win you the lane, but he won't win you the game. That is how I look at Froggen. Now, people will point out Huhi's current laning prowess, and I think that is fair criticism. He has not been winning his lanes. Even last split, which was arguably his best split, he was doing quite well. Even then, he was pretty low on some metrics, such as CS differential at 10 minutes, things like that. Maybe you can say,
I mean, it's one of those things where the whole team was always low.
Right, and maybe you go and tell me and I can also say, like, maybe he roams, right? He goes and roams and gets a kill or assist, and that's where his early game gold comes in. Because we know he likes to roam. Bjergsen is a very versatile player. It depends on what he's doing, but generally he's always going to be high up. Jensen, you know, he's going to generally play for lane. Who else is there? I guess Pobulger is there.
So
one thing that's interesting, Huhi's laning stats have always been somewhat similar to High. And they actually play somewhat similar in that neither one of them wants to win the lane.
No, they're looking to
go play around the map.
Their other laners in a better position by ganking or just applying pressure so that they can all come mid lane and crush mid lane. If he can keep the mid laner at bay and stop them from roaming while he gives pressure to top or bottom lane, it allows those lanes to snowball more and then move up into his lane and push his lane.
So is that the best thing though, right? Because if it doesn't work out, you're just losing a ton of experience, a ton of CS, and at worst you're harassing the opponent in the other lanes or the jungler, but you're not accomplishing anything, and the opponent in your lane is going to gain a huge advantage over you. You know, and people who are already extremely proficient at farming, like Froggen and Jensen, they're just going to get an even bigger advantage over that. Exactly. You already know they're extremely good at laning. You're just giving them more. You're giving them a free lane, and that just makes them even better at what's probably their greatest strength. And if you're a very strong laner, that in itself applies a ton of pressure. You know, if you're Huhi, you'll say, all right, that's fine. I'll take the bad matchup. I'll beat you in it.
Yeah.
I mean, Licorice played
all right.
Licorice played Lucian into Huhi, and sure, the early game was kind of rough for him. He gets a couple ganks, and then Huhi just goes and just wrecks face with him.
Yep.
So
it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I think there is a fair argument to be made over Huhi's poor laning. Now,
I would agree with you there that it's Huhi is not been playing as well as you would expect.
And a lot of people will say that's because he's doing a lot of the shot calling. And
yeah,
we saw that, at least for Bjergsen, whenever he had to shot call and play the lane, it did affect his laning. Now, he was still a very good player, and he was able to still do it. I mean, TSM's made fucking finals every split. So,
every split.
You know, he's clearly able to do it, at least to a degree in which they're able to beat the domestic competition.
Yeah. It would be...
Huhi's laning has never been that good in the first place, comparatively.
And then add on top of that, the pressures of having to do the shot calling
that's probably affecting his lane. He's also played, I think, 10 different champions in 12 games, something like that. We know he's got a huge champion pool with a bunch of pocket picks like Vel'Koz and Reliant, which he did draw bans from previous split. But we're also just doing this off meta stuff, and I'm transitioning over to drafting and coaching.
Sure.
So CLG is picking all these off-meta picks. And
it's not really working for us.
It's not working. I think we talked at the beginning of the podcast a little bit about how our team comps are more difficult to execute than the opposing teams, where Camille Galio is pretty easy to execute as a comp. Camille goes in, Galio ults, and... well, sucks to be the opponent. You're just going to get smacked about and tossed around, and you're going to die.
Yep.
You know?
And that's a meta pick. Why are we not trying to get that?
Right.
Like, why are we taking Gnar and, like, Syndra or something like that? Like, I don't think we've actually played Syndra. It's hard to remember who he's been playing right now.
So we've seen TF, Vel'Koz, Aurelion Sol. Who else has played mid lane? I don't know if he's played Orianna this split or not. I don't know if he's played. I don't remember if he's played Cass. There's just so many champions right now.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we're just whatever we're picking and doing right now, it's not really always meta.
I mean, we picked Malzahar. There was that one Zillion game which he clearly didn't look practiced on. 2 Zillion games actually. The second one was better, but
still not very good. And
so I don't know. Yeah. Maybe there's too many champions there and just need to focus on a few of them.
Yep. I mean, and this is something that we've been kind of glossing over a little bit we keep mentioning that we'll be back to it. And I think it's good time to bring it up now, is that has CLG been, and in quotes, found out in terms of...
You mean our playstyle and the way in which we like to play and draft?
Yeah, so I mean, if it works really well to transition from drafting in that people are, not as scared of, oh gosh, what is Huhi going to pull out this week? Or, oh god, what is Darshan going to pull out this week? Right now, it feels as though the drafting phase is just... They know what we're going to pick. They know how we're going to play our early game.
Or people aren't scared, where they say, okay, fine.
Yeah.
We've seen this, and we'll play around it.
And that could be part of the current meta in terms of, we don't have like what's in meta is a hard counter to CLG's playstyle, in that, you know, we want to get ahead early and kind of stall out mid and dominate late.
Oh boy, the TSM
that's just not working.
Do nothing for 45 minutes when one team fight and end the game.
Yeah, that too.
So
that too.
In general, the best teams are not meta reliant.
No,
now
they are not.
Our shining moment was the Haida lane swaps. We were probably the best. We were by far the best lane swap team in NA, and I'd say arguably in the West.
Yeah, I would agree.
By far the best team, at least whenever I watch NA and EU. CLG was head and shoulders above everyone else in doing it. And we would execute on that. We would get the early game leads. We would transition that well into mid game, and we would make a bunch of cross map rotations. We'd go rotate before the opponent, catch them off guard, get a pick, force something to happen, take a turret, rotate around the map again, pick up a Drake or something like that. Be very quick, fast tempo games like that.
Exactly.
And sometimes it'd be frustrating that sometimes we wouldn't even fight the opponent. We just keep rotating.
Yeah. And that's where our strengths lied. And now it feels as though, you know, you're not getting lane swaps nearly as much nowadays.
It's after
you kind of get them after. Yeah, exactly. So it's not a before the tower gets taken where you swap lanes to take the tower. It's more of a okay, my tower is gone. We have no defense. Let's send the top laner up to get some farm.
So the thing with that is,
or down to get some farm.
Even if that's there, you still have that voice that's going to do the lane allocation, saying this person is going to go here, this person is going to go there. Right? You still have someone doing that. And
exactly.
It seems like we don't have anyone that we can do that, but it's a lot more reactionary. Oh
yes,
the opponent, our opposition sent their bot lane top. Let's go swap our top and bot, something like that. Which everyone does that, right? You're not really thinking about that. Remember how when I talked earlier about how the games generally seem to go, in my opinion, where I gave an overview of how we'd win early and then we just fumble mid and then Baron and then lose.
Yep.
I feel like that's fairly common, and our team comps, as I mentioned, somewhat allow that, in that we have these win conditions, and the comps themselves would be fine if we were better, I guess, at the execution aspect of it, or our macro to play on them, because split push comps are difficult to play off of. They require you to be in constant communication, to have properly set up your vision, to know when to apply the pressure with split push and when to come in for a team fight, things like that. They're not easy to play at all.
No.
At the same time, if you just have a 5v5, a Juggerball comp where you just run at the opponent, but they have good enough wave clear and you can't ever get an engage on, then you'll get thrown apart by the macro, where people would just run across the map and you're just constantly chasing them. So, but at the same time, I think it's way easier to go pick the Skarner with Predator boots, run in really fast, and just force a flash or a ghost or something, and then try it again the next moment you get 45 seconds later or whatever the cooldown is. Okay, that's really easy. It's really easy to go have your Galio be mid, I keep mentioning Camille, but have someone engage and then Galio ults.
Yep.
And even if you don't, the pressure of you doing that is there, which prevents the opponent from going in.
Exactly.
So,
I mean, it ties back. Like,
we're not playing well around.
We're
not playing well around comps that engage onto us very well.
No, because those comps they're playing well enough
to execute,
and knowing our kind of next move and so that with their compositions and how they're playing and they're ahead a little bit, I mean, we don't have an answer for that.
So you can argue that Sejuani does that, right? If you pick Sejuani, very good team fighting presence, solid tank, lots of CC.
Yep.
Go pair that up with someone who can dish out a ton of damage, and you're pretty good on the team fight front. I mean, Nara is still pretty good there. You layer the CC. Things like that.
Layer the CC and then just allow your ADC to just pump out damage.
But we weren't executing well on those, right? Again, we get those early games and then someone would get picked off and then we just can't play our comp because you're missing a carry.
Yeah, pretty much.
And part of that's just they're playing better than us. We're playing awful. I don't know. I feel like it's getting super repetitive at this point.
It kind of is. It is like...
Alright, so let's talk Zikz and drafting, right? I've seen some people talk recently about should we get a new hedge coach or replace Zikz LoL. I don't know. I don't think so. I think that's just a stupid move to do so. He is...
I think so as well.
I think he's still among the best coaches in the West. And I mean, it's all of NA and all of EU. I still think he's among the best. He is constantly being praised by every single analyst and every single one of his peers as having incredible game knowledge, having a very good understanding of the game. But as CLG fans, we also know he is very stubborn.
Yeah, and it seems like he's being... I don't know, maybe he's too stubborn right now, or it's how often, something's up.
How often have we seen CLG go and they stick to their guns, and this is the comp we're going to do, and we're going to give away the power picks, and we're going to come up with this clever counter strategy around it that has the specific execution that needs to be done, and if it works, it's brilliant. But we also know the frustration of we try to be too clever, and it just doesn't work, and then we fall flat.
Yeah, I mean,
how many times have we seen that where we will just give over power picks and try to play around it instead of banning them out?
At least once a weekend, especially when it was in best of threes, we would almost always in game 2 give away a power pick and try and play around it and think, okay, we'll be all right.
I mean, I also understand that somewhat. It's okay, it's game 2. If you've won game 1, right, you're experimenting a little bit. And I get that.
You don't have that option in a best of 1.
It's just frustrating, right? I mean, you think back even to Worlds. We've done it before.
Yep. We have, but, like, why are we doing it?
I don't know. Sometimes we just don't know how to play around something, and it's best of 1, so also you don't have the luxury of adapting to something. For example, that first game we played up against Cloud9, where they picked Zillion against Malzahar, and it just shut down our entire team comp. We did not seem like we expected Zillion at all, and you can't adapt to that by banning it out or picking it away or something, because there is no next game.
Yeah, if you give that away and, you know, something, and it just happens to be that you are, you get put behind because you gave away a power pick, and that power pick cycled or, like, went super hard. Like, okay, great. Or you don't have another game to come back.
You expect something and it didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I think, part of the have we been found out thing, in that we are not adapting as well as we should be. Where we're constantly trying, like you said, to just do the same thing over and over and over again, and eventually it will work.
So
but
when I say
in this meta, that's not happening.
When I say same thing, I mean same style of play, in that we want to have Darshan on this semi-split pusher / fighter with Gnar, things like that. And I see the idea. You know, you have ReignOver on the tanky engaged jungler, Huhi and Stixxay are the damage, and then I don't know. Sometimes our drafts are also a little bit weird in that I think we Okay, so in the Clutch Gaming game, we went for something and we didn't pick up any support in the first phase, and then 4 supports get banned out, and then they pick Tarek, and then we're left with Rakan. You remember that?
Yep.
Yep. I don't know. We banned out 2 supports, and then they banned out 2 supports, and I have to look at that draft again and maybe think about it some more. But I just found it odd that we kind of feel like we locked ourselves out of potentially 2 very strong supports. Braum or Alistair or Tarek or whatever.
Yeah, by banning.
They can only ban 3 things. Or sorry, you can only ban 2 things and take 1. Something is left if you're not banning those 2. So
yeah,
I don't know. I have to look at that particular draft again, but that was just one example where I thought it was a little bit strange. Again, Zikz would know better than I. He might have had a plan, or maybe the team wanted to go for something, and they made an adaptation during the draft, or something happened. But I just thought it was very strange.
It is very strange, and it just I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say there. But I think in terms of a head coach, Zikz is key.
Oh, absolutely.
I think he's a level head.
I think losing him would be the biggest blow for CLG.
Mm-hmm.
Alexa, shut up.
I think it would be a worse than losing Afro to lose Zikz and I mean obviously even worse to lose both.
I think we should get more support staff.
Yeah, I mean,
if that's the thing,
we
right?
have a whole bunch.
But if that's the thing,
I guess we have analysts. We have a bunch of analysts.
We have analysts.
I think
we
is
have
what we have
a
now.
Player development coach. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. Teaching shot calling is very difficult to do.
Yep. It is. It's something that's almost a latent ability as opposed to something that they can learn.
I mean, you can, but it requires an incredible amount of time, practice, and you're going to make a ton of mistakes. You have to grow into the role.
Yeah. You're going to grow into it, and like Afromu was just really good at it naturally.
If you remember when Afromu first joined, he was not a very good shot caller. It took him time.
Well, he wasn't the shot caller, wasn't he? Not until after. So I think it was Link was initially the shot caller.
Link was the shot caller season 3. And then 4 we had Xmithy and Paul Bolter.
And I think they tried that everyone's the shot caller.
I think Afromu was still the shot caller though, but we made a lot of mistakes at that time.
Yeah.
He grew with time. It got better, but it was not very good early on. But at that point our laners were good enough. Rush Hour was still Rush Hour. Paul Butler was, well, I'm going to sit here and I'm just going to not die. And then Darshan did Darshan things. So.
Yep, he did. He was doing Zion Spartan things. At
that point it was that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very hard to say what CLG should do because I've seen some people say, well, just blow up the entire roster, go nuclear. And in traditional sports, that's very rare to do. You usually don't...
Especially when
you usually don't do a full rebuild.
No.
Or rebuild around 1 or 2 players, which I guess you could do. You can make the argument that Biofrost and Stixxay are fairly young players, if you wanted to rebuild around them. Fact remains, you still have to go and look for talent, and a lot of the talent right now has been taken. I guess there's some players on academy teams here and there that you can go and try to put together a team for.
Yep.
But it's not like our players aren't talented either, right? When TSM rebuilt their roster around Bjergsen, Dyrus was a liability at that point. Trying to remember who their jungler was. Was it Amazing or Santorin or whatever? Either way, they've been turned into a ward at that point, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. They were just a ward for Bjergsen.
You can argue that maybe Wild Turtle could have been kept, but they got freaking doublelift. So actually, they had wild turtle for they got doublelift. Yeah, they got freaking doublelift. So that was there. And then,
Yep.
And then they went for Yellow Star. So they built around talented players. They got rid of all their old players who weren't doing well, which is most of them, and they got talented players.
They kept the one main star and then basically just rebuilt around it.
Yeah.
Though it did take over a couple of splits. And I mean, if you're thinking,
Two
if
splits.
that's what...
2 splits. They
splits.
still made
Two
finals.
splits.
So credit where credit's due.
Credit where credit's due. Bjergsen carried the living shit out of them the first split. And then the second split, they just dominated like hell because they had kind of their
Super
top
Saiyan,
of the line.
Super Saiyan practice schedule.
Exactly.
So...
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like we have the talent for this team to work. We know Zikz is a quality coach. I don't know. We have players who are good. They're just running around the map, not knowing what to do. And it feels to me that if we can somehow get Biofrost or ReignOver or Huhi, maybe even Darshan Stixxay step up to come together with a shot calling with the macro and someone to be that decisive voice, I feel like we could put it together. Not this split.
No. This split is kind of a write-off. Let them do their thing, learn.
There is zero expectations on my behalf at this point. I guess we're transitioning.
Yeah.
We've transitioned to
the
next thing, right?
Is there more time to fix problems or
do they have to
general?
go and do something, whether it be replace a player or several or something like that? And that's something the org will have to think about. I don't know. I have zero expectations of CLG winning any game the rest of the split. We play Cloud9, Echo Fox, Team Liquid, FlyQuest, Optic. I realistically at this point don't expect us to win any game. I feel awful for saying it, but
it's just that's the way. I mean, we couldn't even beat Golden Guardians this weekend, and like it wasn't even that the game was close. It was like we got crushed.
I was doing work stuff. I couldn't watch that game, and after seeing the Reddit reactions, I don't think I want to.
You don't even need to. All you need to know is that
we lost to Golden Guardians.
Like,
enough said.
Golden Guardians was bottom of the league, and now we are tied for the bottom of the league. So
literally, if anything, they've won a couple games in the past few weeks. We have not.
Yeah, we have gone 0-2
for the past 3 weeks. We are the worst team in the league at the moment. So that's why I say I have zero expectations. Let them go do whatever they feel they need to do. The odds are us getting playoffs. We have to win something like 5 games or 6 games, and TSM and I think it's Team Liquid or FlyQuest or something like that have to not lose 2 games or something like that. Something like that. It's not going to happen.
No, I think it's impossible for us to get to. Yeah. I don't think it'll ever happen. It'll probably be a no playoffs. I mean, there's no relegations anymore, so there's that, I guess.
Right.
But
I don't know what else to say. I think we do look better than we did at the start of the split, at least in some aspects of the game. Our bot lane has looked better. At times, I feel like we occasionally make this move where we go after an objective, or we try to play around it, but we don't. We try to sub a little bit of vision, and then someone gets picked off, and it's all for naught or something. But
yeah.
I feel like okay. Every time I think something gets better, something else feels like it just. Oh wait, we still have this problem, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like we get it. We get like it was like we were saying earlier. We get an early pick. We should be pressing an advantage, but we don't. because we got that pick at a really inopportune time, or it was just a really lucky fluke of a pick where, like, yesterday, basically, Aframu played Blitzcrank, and the whole win for them against, like, Clutch Gaming or whoever they were playing on Sunday, 100 Thieves, he picks Wild Turtle, like, just Wild Turtle's in the stupidest spot ever. Blitzcrank, Aframu hooks them in, they get that, and then they take the win push from that. Like,
Yeah.
that's the style of pick that we should be getting if we are playing actively for that. But I feel as though we're actively playing in a position for them to throw picks at us. We're waiting for them to give us a pick instead of trying to make that pick happen.
Sometimes we try to go for it, but it doesn't work out too. And then I presume the players start to get tilted.
Yeah, and then they don't have someone
because maybe they just play well around
boost them up. Yeah, exactly.
I guess we're coming towards the end. Do you have anything in particular that you want to say, or anything that you think we missed?
I don't think so. I think we did. We did a really good rundown of everything that's kind of needed to be talked about. And so, I guess the one thing we'll say is CLG.Red played this weekend and they got beat 2-0. They went 0-2 and got knocked out. So, yep, it's an 0-2 weekend for CLG.
You remember when one of the episodes we just titled "At least we still have SFAT"?
Yeah.
Well, at least we still have SFAT.
Yep. He's playing this weekend too, coming up, I think. Oh no, it's Void. Void's playing at Kawaii Con.
All right. So, if you've been listening to us this whole time, thank you very much for listening. I'm
glad you put up with us.
Yeah, I just want to say once again, these are our opinions and our thoughts, and if you disagree with them, that is perfectly fine. Maybe you strongly feel that, I don't know, Huhi is just an absolutely awful player when it comes to laning, and we very strongly need Froggen or something like that.
Truthfully,
make the case for it in the comments.
You have something like that, exactly. If you feel as though we said something that's wrong, or that you have a disagreement with, throw it in the comments. We always have this posted on Reddit. It's best to do on Reddit, I think, for comments.
In
YouTube
case,
comments.
Yes.
Especially in this case.
You can also email us at clgfaithful@gmail.com or send something on Twitter.
If you'd rather keep it more like one-on-one, absolutely.
Although I would prefer just general feedback there. I don't think those are very good for lengthy, in-depth conversations, but I guess feel free.
Yep.
If we just get straight flame, we're probably not going to respond to something. So,
if it's constructive criticism, we are very welcome to it.
Yes.
If you're just sending us, "You guys are fucking idiots," we're just going to
tell us why. If you think all our opinions are awful and everything needs to go, make an actual post describing
make a reasoning and back yourself up. And we'll actually read it and respond. Yeah. 100%.
Because at the end of the day, some of us are a little more, let's say, vocal about our love for CLG than others.
Yep.
We're all passionate fans. That's why this sub turns into a toxic shithole that it does. We all give a damn about the org, and we all have our frustrations with it. And a lot of the frustrations that you see, I think there is a lot of very fair and reasonable criticism that is levied at the org that oftentimes we don't get an answer for.
Yeah. And you know what? Maybe we'll get some of those answers. Just remember, if you've been listening this whole time, maybe you forgot, Nick Allen's doing an AMA sometime this week. So if you have questions for him, ask him there. All
right. I think we've reached the end of everything we have to say.
I think so.
I have way too much work stuff I need to get started for. That's due tomorrow. So
no worries.
I need to get to that.
Yep. All right, guys. So this is the CLG Faithful Podcast. We are a weekly podcast. We go over all things CLG, kind of like we did today. If you enjoy what we are doing, please take a few minutes to follow us on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, or give us a ratings on iTunes and Google Play. Also, you can subscribe there. We love getting feedback. As we said, please send us your thoughts over at clgfaithful@gmail.com, and we will respond, as long as it's not just flaming us. I have been Artrin.
And I'm Nefarious.
Peace out, guys.
See ya.